Welcome to the Created Worthy podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Damrell, and I am so grateful that you're here. On this show, I talk about creative processing and how to utilize it as a skill to bring peace, joy, and freedom into our chaotic lives. I also sit down with the most incredible guests as they share their stories, many of which for the very first time. We are all created worthy. Today, I have another incredible guest joining me in studio to share a bit about her story and life with us. Linneah Harkness is a middle school girls Bible teacher, and she teaches at the very same school that we actually both went to and graduated from. Linneah embodies servant leadership in everything that she does. Teaching is a core part of who she is, from her career to her hobbies. She is also my OG essential oils gal and does so much more with that than just sell the oils. She educates on the benefits of natural living and how to incorporate the products she stands behind to bring healing and clarity into the lives of those who she serves. Linneah is also an incredible lettering artist, and you guys, you should see her classroom. It is beautiful. She has provided lettering services for quite a few years and carries her creativity with her wherever she goes and through all the things that she does. Linneah has faced challenges just like the rest of us, including walking with her mom through a cancer diagnosis. These challenges have led her towards empowering women to take control of their health and pay attention to the products that they use in their homes. She is on a mission to help women create homes that are safe havens for their families. Linneah, thank you so much for joining me on the Created Worthy podcast.
You are so welcome. I feel honored, honestly, just to be a part of this conversation and to be invited into this beautiful space that you've done. It's just really special.
Oh, thank you.
I was telling my husband before I got here, I'm like, I get to go do that today. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, that's just so cool that you get to be a part of something like that. So I'm excited to be here and to just have a cool conversation.
Yes, I'm excited that you're here and we've got our coffee with us.
Oh, yes, always.
We're going to have an amazing conversation and I just can't wait to hear your heart. So I would really love to just start with you sharing a little bit about where you're from and how Jesus has shown up in your life since the very beginning, I believe.
Wow, that's such a big question.
I know.
So I'm a native of Colorado, born and raised here, and grew up in Arvada, basically. It's like my city. And yes, went to school with you in high school, but went to school there from first grade, and then I graduated there. And like you said, I'm now working back there, which is so fun. But yeah, born and raised in Colorado. I have known Jesus for all of my life. I accepted him into my heart in kindergarten, which was so sweet. I remember the moment, actually, like, you know how people don't really have memories of like when you're really young?
Yeah.
Well, I like remember sitting down at the little the little tiny round tables in a kindergarten classroom with little tiny chairs. Yes. I sat on one of them with my mom and my kindergarten teacher. And my kindergarten teacher just expressed, like, because my kindergarten teacher told my mom that I had asked questions, and she was explaining to my mom that she thought that I was ready to make that choice. So after school one day, we sat down on those little tiny chairs, and I've said the prayer, and they walked me through, and they made sure I understood what was going on, and I like remember that moment. It's like a core memory. But so life with Jesus has been really sweet. I was born and raised into a Christian home. My dad has been a part of ministry for all my life that I can remember. He was my youth pastor for many years, and now he serves at a local church as the family care pastor. So I feel really, really blessed by the family that I grew up in.
Oh my gosh, what a huge blessing that is.
It really is.
And I love that you recognize it as that, because I think a lot of people, when they've grown up in a Christian family, there's some resentment there about like, this wasn't my choice. But you sitting down with me and being like, no, that was fully my choice. And I wanted that. I think that's really
they did
telling.
A really good job encouraging that relationship, and I never felt forced in it. but they would ask me questions, and they would get down to the root of like when something would be going on. My dad has this saying that he's always said whenever I'd do something that maybe would get me in trouble at the house, he'd always say, let's put that issue aside and let's just talk about your heart, because clearly like whatever you just did shows me that your heart is not where it needs to be. So he was always concerned more about my heart, which I think really made me see through him and see that his like the faith was not being forced. It was like he was being super genuine and like just truly cared about me and my heart and my walk with the Lord, which is like, yeah, I love my family. I could go on and on and on about my family.
I love watching your love for your family, and like when you guys go out on coffee dates, or you're like, I just went over to my mom's house and hung out, or she just came over randomly and we just spent hours watching a movie and genuinely enjoyed our time together. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what a huge blessing, and also a gift. Yeah. You know, just
it truly is a gift.
I love you so much. I'm so grateful that you're here to just share your story, because every person who's been on Created Worthy, their stories are all a little bit different. And some of them are deeply rooted in painful pasts and childhoods. But then there are people who have, not to minimize anything that you've gone through, but have genuinely lived a blessed life. But you recognize it as that. It's not like you take that for granted. And maybe there are moments, I take my life for granted all the time. Yeah. There are moments where you do, but when you show up for somebody, you're not showing up from like, I'm better, I'm stable, I'm blah, 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 blah. You're like, no, I want to know you, and I want to hear you, and I want to help you. And I want to use the gifts and blessings that I've had in my life to serve you, which is why I use the term servant leadership in your bio, because that is really the biggest thing I've always seen in your heart, is just like this heart of service. And that has naturally made you a leader, even I think throughout high school and probably middle school. I didn't know you back then, but just in the time that I have known you, like you've always really stood out as somebody who can lead and is capable and able to serve and teach from this place of servant leadership. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for that. I'm like, I'm here and I'm like sharing my story, but I feel like I'm just here and I'm just getting a ton of encouragement, which is so sweet. So thank you for encouraging my heart.
Of course. So you talked a little bit about your childhood and how you felt really supported by your parents. You also have a sister who you're really close with.
My bestie.
Yes.
Yes. So growing up, I have a really special relationship with my sister, and I'm like trying to actually process like how, like in my home, how did my parents cultivate a space where we felt so comfortable to get so close to the point of where like our relationship is at right now. And I'm still thinking about that. And it's a question that I've even asked my dad. I actually gifted him a super cool subscription to, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Storyworth.
Yes.
Okay.
That looks so cool.
So it like sends weekly questions, and then they journal about the question, and it combines all of the weekly questions for a whole year. So 52 questions into a really special bound like book as like a keepsake memory. So I gifted it to him for Christmas, and that's one of the questions actually in the book. And I'm so excited to see his response, because it's seriously something that I'm so grateful for, my relationship with my sister. She's always been wise beyond her years. She's 5 years younger than me, but I just feel like she's like just right there with me. And she's so gentle-hearted. She's a blast to be around. And yeah, so I grew up with her, and it was really special having just a companion in my life with her. And she's my only sister, so it's just us two. I remember playing Barbies with her like for hours when we were younger, and we just truly did everything together. And like I said, that 5-year gap like never been like an issue. It's always been just like my little buddy. So
she's another. I've never actually met your
sister.
You
need to meet her.
I want to meet her.
Everyone needs to meet her.
Yes, I want to meet her. And now she's an adult.
Yes.
So I always feel like that
now.
No matter if you have an age gap, like my closest sibling to me is 14 years older than me. And like when I became an adult, I was able to have an actual relationship. Like 14 years is I was in kindergarten, he was graduating high school, so it's like quite a significant age gap. But when I became an adult fully, I would say, I obviously are an adult at 18, but I had a baby at 19, and I like really, I don't know, that just really
made you to grow up.
It made me grow up quick. Yeah. But that was like also the time where I was able to start forming a relationship with my siblings, for the first time, like of my own. And even just like in the little taste that I've had, I'm like, wow, this is such a gift. Like to be able to just have somebody who had the same parents or grew up maybe very differently. We grew up very differently, but they know the same people to the same extent. And like, it's just a really special thing. And I think walking into adulthood and being able to like really solidify those bonds even more and develop more than just like a sisterhood where you're playing Barbies and stuff. It's really cool that you guys did that with that 5-year age gap even. But then she becomes an adult. Maybe she's going to get married someday. You got married and you guys are still so close.
Yeah. So. It's been really cool to see, like you're saying, that relationship continue to grow throughout different seasons of our life together, which has been so fun.
You are a middle school teacher. Middle school sounds that was not a good years for me. Wasn't good years for many people. I think a lot of us are like, I could never work with middle schoolers. But what was middle school like for you? Like, do you think that even in those years there was something planted that you were like, I want to teach these kids? Or was it kind of an evolution of like realizing who you wanted to teach?
That's a really fun question. So when I went to school for elementary education, and I thought that I wanted to be like 4th, 5th grade classroom. I loved the elementary age, but my principal actually, when I was hired, was like, will you teach 6th grade? And I was like, what? No, I will never do that. Like, are you serious? Long story short, I'm in 6th grade and I started to love the middle school age. And then recently, this past year, my principal was just talking to me about what next year looks like and stuff like that. So I taught 7th and 8th grade girls Bible this past school year, and I'm prepping to do that again this year, which is really exciting. And he asked me if I wanted to be a part of this 7th and 8th grade girls Bible. And I just was like, what? Like, I felt so not qualified. Like I truly like struggled and wrestled last summer. I felt like I had this story of like, grew up in the church, grew up in a Christian school. Like, I never really struggled with anything that would make how like people have testimonies and they're like, I did all these things and now God called me to this life and I'm saved from my past. Like, I just feel like I don't really have I don't have a testimony of like, just like a testimony of true redemption of like, I was going so south and now God pulled me and I'm going north. Like,
right.
That's kind of how.
And that's like that trap of comparison.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you start to compare your story and a lot of it has to do with your worth, like how you view your worth. Like, I haven't gone through enough to serve kids or people who may be going through a lot.
Yeah. I felt like I didn't have enough history with whatever, things of the world that I could relate to the kids with, or whatever they were struggling with, and be like, oh yeah, I walked through that season too. Like, it just, I feel like I just have a very different perspective. And so I felt like the enemy was using that against me of like, you have this story and kids might be coming to you with things that they're really struggling with and you've never walked through something like that before. So how are you going to be be able to do that? Like that's just what he was just like, just playing over and over in my mind.
We'll do that. He's
the worst.
The worst. He is the worst. Because, yes, I know, just as you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I can just think how much you would be under attack.
Yeah.
When you're trying to step into something that the Lord is really calling you to teach people about himself.
Yeah.
The enemy wants to beat you down and say you're not capable of that, but you did it anyway.
Yeah. And it was like all the Lord, like the past year, just like watching these girls grow deeper in their relationships. I've had so many conversations with the girls who are just like, I want to grow deeper in my walk with Jesus. Like, I've encouraged them to do that, and I'm just like, what? Like, see, like, it just is just confirmation of like when you step into what God is calling you to do, even if you're like, what? Like me? Like he will use you. And I've even just been reminded about how he uses the unqualified, like how he qualifies the unqualified. Of like in scripture, he uses the most like unqualified people for his mission, and they all say, why me? Like I can't. And God's always like, no, I want to use you for this reason, and I'm gonna use you. So whether you like it or not, you're coming along. So it's been really cool to be used by him. Middle school, I think middle school was a time for me where I think that I was like searching to make my relationship with God truly my own. Because I grew up in the church, I grew up in that Christian household, like I talked about, and it was not forced on me. But I truly felt like in middle school, I was like, all right, like, am I going to do this? And I really did choose that lifestyle, I think, in middle school. But I struggled with comparison, and I struggled with even just seeking attention from people that I was trying to just get affirmation from, when in reality that should have been coming from the Lord.
But isn't that a struggle that we all go through?
And I think it's not just a middle school struggle. Like, that is a struggle. I mean, I still, like, same. Am I going to that for affirmation, or am I going to the Lord for affirmation? I just feel like middle school was, what I wanted to do for these girls in Bible is just to show them that being a Christian woman in today's world is so possible, and it's so much fun. Like being a follower of Jesus is fun, and it doesn't make you like, you can't, like, I feel like a lot of people think that being a follower of Christ means like you can't do this and you can't do that, but in reality it's like there's so much joy in following Christ. And so I wanted to show them like it's possible to be a fun girl, but also love Jesus. Like, that's where the joy comes from. And so I wanted to just be that example and encourage them to truly like dive in to the scriptures and like spend time with the Lord on their own. Right.
So you're serving middle school girls now, and you're loving it. You went through middle school. You had your challenges. And I also remember and know that you started dating your husband really early. I can't remember if it was middle school or high school, but do you want to talk a little bit about your relationship and the evolution of that?
I could talk about him forever.
He seems incredible.
He's the best. So, yes, I met my now husband, Grant, when we were 14. And it was in September of our freshman year. So it was right after middle school. So we were in high school, and we met in Bible class. We met in Mrs. McCaslin's Bible classroom.
Oh my goodness.
She like had us in the seating chart, sitting right next to each other, and we just like started talking, and we would pass notes in class, and like when we started to like have like interest in each other, we would like talk like back and forth with notes, and so silly. And got his number, and we just like started talking and started hanging out with like people and just developing like just a deep friendship, him and I. And then that friendship definitely moved to feelings, and I've literally been with him ever since, which is so fun. So we've been together for like 10 years, but only married for almost 3. So
how did you navigate through temptation with your husband? Like, in a relationship, if you're attracted to somebody, you want to be with them. You want to be close to them. Did you have boundaries for yourself, like in regards to even just like kissing?
That's a really good question. So my parents didn't allow me to like officially date him until I was 16. And what that meant was like I couldn't go out on a date with him or like be alone with him until I was that age. And that was just their boundary of like just keeping things healthy. And I think also when you like can't drive yourself to somewhere, it's kind of like it's kind of embarrassing of like, Mom, can you take me to this date? Like, so I think that there's just like a natural age where that's appropriate to like go out on a date, and I appreciate that from my parents.
So you weren't mad at them for not letting you date?
No, I really wasn't. Because like I said, we were developing that friendship and we were still hanging out with groups of people and we would text and like, we definitely had feelings for each other, but we weren't going out on dates.
He respected that.
Yeah,
you respected
he really did,
that.
and I really appreciated that. And then I told him that I didn't want to have my first kiss until I was dating. So we did not kiss until we were dating.
Wow.
And he was a champ. Like, he truly respected that boundary. And that was one thing for me that I was like, if he can respect that and he can respect that I don't want that to happen, like, that shows a lot of his character of like, he's willing to show me that he truly does love me in that way. So that was a boundary for us. And, yeah, we had a lot of moments where we were like, we need to set boundaries, because if this is something that we want to last, like, and I have like notes that we passed back and forth that we knew we wanted to marry each other when we were in high school. Like, we knew that we were the one for each other. And that's like, it's very special. Back then, I remember telling my mom, and she was like, okay, well, that's great. Like, she was very she's supportive.
Like wide-eyed and like, I want the best for you, but also I know how this typically goes.
Yeah, well, she actually my mom married her high school sweetheart. She met my dad when she was 16.
Oh my goodness.
So she knows what it feels like, but she also was like, she didn't want to get too excited to the point where maybe if something were to have happened to Grant and I's relationship, then she always said, I don't want you to feel like you're disappointing me or me and Dad, because we love him so much. Like, they always were like, we are on your team and we will cheer you guys on, but we ultimately like support you and what you want. So we had intentional boundaries, and we stuck really true to those things. And I think that that's truly why our marriage, the first couple of years of marriage, has been just so sweet, because of the obedience and the respect that we had for the Lord, but also each other. And yeah, it's just been fun to see God's favor in all of that. So I love him.
Did you guys go to the same college after high school? Because you were in the same grade, so you went all through high school together. And then you go to college. So what did college look like for you?
Yeah, so we both actually went to different colleges our freshman year. I actually went for just a semester and then came home to Colorado Christian, is where I started spring of my freshman year of college. And then he played basketball out in Iowa for a year. And then he transferred back home actually too. So we both kind of made our trek back home. And he and I both attended Colorado Christian University.
Which is also where I went.
Yes. I'm just following Danielle everywhere she goes.
No. I was never on campus with you.
No, I think we talked about that one time.
Because you're a couple years younger than me. So but I did go my freshman and sophomore year in person on campus, but I was pregnant my sophomore year. So after that, I did online.
Yeah.
So and I think that was the year that you started.
Yes, possibly.
Yeah.
So then we finished college together, which was so fun. So we had 3 years together. So we did long distance for a whole year, which it's hard. It's really hard. And I tell people who are doing long distance, I am like, if first of all, if the Lord wants this relationship to happen, like, it'll work. But also, like, long distance is so not worth it if you're not in it fully. So you have to like ask yourself, like, is this truly someone that I want to fight for? Because long distance is just hard.
Yeah.
And it's really rough on a relationship. But I think it solidified what Grant and I had. Like, it showed each other that we truly were.
You were gonna fight committed for each other.
Yeah, and we really truly did love each other. And we weren't gonna let distance be something that separated us. Yeah, we wanted to fight it. So and it was worth it. It really was. But I tell people, I'm like, if it's not, like, if you really don't want to be in this relationship, like, don't go through long distance, just because it's not easy. It's really hard.
Yeah. So at what point did you guys get engaged?
So we got engaged when we were seniors in college. So we finished senior year engaged, and then we got married in December after we had graduated. So we graduated in May of 2019 and then got married December.
Yeah, you had a short engagement too.
It was actually a whole year.
Oh, it was okay.
Mm-hmm. So we got engaged the middle of.
Oh, okay. You were engaged. Wow.
During senior year. Yeah. So it was a full year.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, how was that?
It was fun. The engagement season is so fun. And I remember, so there's like so many things to do, right? And you're planning this wedding and it's stressful. It really is. Like I feel like wedding planning is just, there's like parts of it that are so fun. Like, right? Like going to find your dress and like planning the colors and the flowers, like all that's so fun. But then there's just like tedious little things that are like,
and there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Yes. There's a lot of things to think through and tedious things that are just like not fun to think about. But yeah, wedding planning season was just so fun. And I was also student teaching. So I had a lot going on just in that season. And I remember being tired a lot in that season, but it was really fun. But I also do remember us, like, during that season, wishing that season away because I had been with Grant for 8 years when we got married at that point because of high school and college. Mm-hmm. And I just was so ready to be his wife and just so ready to experience just that oneness of marriage and just having a partner that truly is like for you and with you and knows you in a deeper level than we had known each other.
Right.
And I just was ready for that teamwork and just, yeah, it was a step that we both were really, really ready for.
I think that that's actually a really important place to just kind of pause and talk about for a minute is wishing those seasons away. And yes, sometimes the seasons they're good. You just really want something.
Yeah.
But then there are also seasons that are just like really bad.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to not just be like, I can't wait to be on the other side of this. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to not have to blank, fill in the blank. But it's in those seasons, the challenging ones, the ones where maybe we're feeling like we just can't do it anymore or don't want to do it or like it doesn't make any sense or we should just do this other thing that would be easier. Those are the seasons that really grow us the most.
Yeah.
And they make us resilient and they show us that we can overcome. And I think the Lord is really intentional about putting seasons like that in all of our lives at different times that are going to be challenging. They're going to be hard. They're going to test us. But being able to make that kind of mindset switch and really heart switch to be like, you know what? This season's hard and I can acknowledge that. But it's not going to be where I live in my present. You know, I'm going to choose that there is a reason, as cliche as it sounds, there's a reason for the season. I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, and I'm going to hopefully lean into the Lord to help get me through this. If we don't have seasons like that where we're longing for something different, then we're not longing for the Lord. There's not space for us to long for him to do something for us. So being able to really lean into that and be like, no, I'm not going to pray away this season. I'm going to lean into this season and it might be hard and it might be painful or it might be challenging or I might want something different. But I'm going to know that right now I'm here for a reason and there's something that I need to learn.
Yeah.
So I love that you said that. And I think that that's a beautiful just point in this whole conversation of just don't wish away those seasons because there's purpose, there's meaning in them.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So you got married and then you finished student teaching, you got a job. Was your first job full-time employment at Faith?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I graduated and went straight to teaching, which has been where I've been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the whole time you've kind of been doing this lettering business. You started doing oils. How do you navigate all of these different realms of your life or areas of your life? And you do such a great job of kind of just bringing them together to just be a part of who you are and a part of your life in a, wholehearted in a wholehearted way, and teaching kind of is your core for all of it. I think maybe a little bit, lettering is a little bit different for you because I think that's more of a creative outlet.
Yeah.
And it's something that is a gifting and something you enjoy. Mm-hmm. And also you're able to share with other people, but you've brought that into your teaching. Mm-hmm. So do you want to talk just for a minute about how you've been able to just balance all of these different things, or if that has been a challenge?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely been a challenge because I find myself being someone similar to you where I have many different things that I love to do and that I truly feel gifted in. And it's hard to kind of know like what I want to, like, I feel like I just want to be doing all these things all the time. So finding balance of like doing certain things at certain times has been a challenge. But yeah, teaching is like my core, and then I've been able to like decorate my classroom with my lettering stuff and even bring my oils into my classroom and like just create a safe place for those girls to feel just like they're at home. That's always been my heart for my classroom, is I always want it to feel homey. I never want it to feel just like stark white bright light. Like I always have my little lamps on and my oils going, and
your classroom is seriously so cute.
Thank you. I really love that place, and I've tried to make it a place where the girls love to be too. But yeah, lettering has been kind of like more of my creative outlet of like when there's so much going on in my head. Maybe whether that's like just conversations that I had at school or just relationships that I'm just like processing and or whatever, even just like family stuff or marriage things. Like I find myself just going to lettering because it truly like slows me down. And I know that you understand this.
Yes.
It like I cannot be thinking about anything else while I'm lettering other than like what each letter is looking like. Mm-hmm. And it's such a slow process. Like I can't just letter something and whip it out in 2 minutes. Like it takes time. And so that's been a place for me where I've just kind of just slowed down and like even just like replayed conversations, or even just a time of like being quiet and just letting the Lord just like kind of speak over me.
Would you say that lettering is a creative processing method for you?
Yeah. Throwing on music and just like lettering while I'm listening to words of like even just I love throwing on worship music while I'm lettering, because I just feel like I just sit in his presence and I truly soak in that time.
So do you set the scene? Like for the most part when you go into a lettering project, you have to.
Yep, my space has to be clean. I don't like lettering in a dirty place. Like it's got to be clean. And more recently, I've started lettering for myself, which has been so fun. And last night I was doing it and I had my little lamp on. I had my worship music going. I was in a comfy little spot. Like my puppy was laying right next to me. It was like, oh, this is like a moment I want to soak in forever because it just was so sweet. But yeah, I find myself just being quiet, and I have never liked being alone. I'm such a people person. But in the last couple of years, I've really learned how to love to be alone and to recharge and to truly take time for myself to fill myself back up with the Lord. Like I can't do it on my own strength. But finding time to do that has been really, really special. So that's been not necessarily something to balance in all of the things, but it's something that I like to find time to do because it helps me
fill your cup,
fill me back up. Yeah.
So at what point did you start doing your oily business? Was this before or after your mom's cancer diagnosis?
It was after. During the engagement season, before the engagement season, she was diagnosed in 2017. So that was going on during our dating relationship. Wow. And then we got engaged and she was cancer free and all of that. So that was a season during college. Yeah, during college that I had walked through, and that was definitely something that was really challenging. But yeah, the oil business that I started happened actually in the summer of 2020. So after we were all locked in our homes, I just was feeling my classroom became my kitchen. and I had to teach from home. And I literally had a portable whiteboard that I took down a decoration in our little kitchen that we had and hung up my whiteboard, and I recorded my lessons in my kitchen. And honestly, looking back on it, it's like kind of a sweet memory, just because I had to be so like flexible and so go with the flow, and that's really not who I am. I like to know what's coming. Like structure. I like structure. I like organization. So having things just like change on a whim was so hard. But looking back on it, I'm like, wow, like that I experienced so much growth. I think we all did. We experienced so much.
And just utter reliance on the Lord.
Like, I can't control what's going to happen. I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. And that's truly what scripture tells us, right? Like, don't plan on tomorrow. Like, why are you so worried about tomorrow when that's not even here?
Yeah.
Like that has been something that I'm like, nope, I have to just like love today, because I don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. Exactly. Quite literally in 2020. But so yeah, I was kind of just feeling lonely because we all didn't know what was going on right when it started. And I just like had this passion of like health and wellness, of like, because we all were so obviously so focused on our health and making sure we stayed healthy. But I just kind of, I had a friend that I had been following on Instagram for a while actually, and she had an essential oils business, and I just loved the education that I was getting from her. And she just taught so much about like the need for holistic health, and like why it's so important to pay attention to your body and what your body needs, rather than just like using all these things on our bodies and then asking the question like, what's wrong with my body? When in reality, it's more than half of the issue is what you actually are already using. So I just like developed a passion for that by watching her share her stuff on her Instagram. And so I just was like, well, if that's a passion of mine, like, why wouldn't I make this a business too? Like, why wouldn't I help other people get oils in their home too? And it was less about like making money, and it was more about like, I just want to tell other people what I've discovered too. Because oils are just so fun. They like literally, there's an oil for everything.
Yes. Everything.
And so it's been really fun to just like take people on the journey of learning that I've even walked through. And once you open up the door of holistic health, like it's so hard to like turn around and walk the other direction, because you just, you know, so much that I feel like some people are like, I don't want to know that. But like, once you know it, you can't unknow it.
Yeah, it is. It's a slippery slope of goodness, but also like very challenging at times. It is. You're like, do I really want to replace all of my cleaning supplies with something that I know is going to be better for me, but also like bleach? Come on. It kills everything.
Yeah. Your brain cells too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been fun too, to just kind of, that's become a new, almost like a new hobby for me, is like learning those things and then teaching. It goes back to like that teaching core. That's something that I love to do, is like teaching other people about it.
Yeah.
And watching other people like see the value in it when I do express like, this is why this is important. Like people see that, and it's been really fun to see other people say, okay, yeah, like I want to try that too. So it's been cool.
Did your mom's cancer diagnosis, I know it was a few years prior, but did that at all play into your passion to help other women live holistic lifestyles?
Absolutely. And I did want to get to that, because that is a really big piece of this. As women, God, I mean, any human, but women especially, God
you feel specifically called to work with women, so it's okay to just speak to the people you feel called to. Yeah.
Women are just so intricately designed by God. Our bodies can do so many incredible things, and I just feel passionate about speaking into women and encouraging them to pay attention to what they are bringing into their home, what they're putting on their bodies, what products they're using, because I feel like in this day and age we have a lot of people who are experiencing a lot of heartbreak when it comes to different, even like cancer diagnoses, but even just like asthma and eczema and gut stuff and
symptoms that are just really uncomfortable and annoying.
Headaches, and even as far as like infertility, that's just like, there's so many things that our body can do, but there's also like so many things that can go wrong because of what we are using. And I'm not saying that like issues are because of XYZ.
Toxins.
Yeah, it's not
only toxins.
It is not only that, right? And I've just heard so many testimonies and so many stories of people who have changed the things and the things that they're using and changed their just change things up and have experienced a difference of life, whether that's they stopped having acne, or maybe they stopped having headaches every day, or maybe their stomach isn't hurting every day. Or I have a couple of friends who were struggling to get pregnant, and they swapped their makeup and they swapped their things in their home, and within a couple of months they were able to have a baby. And that's just so cool to see that our bodies truly, like I said at the beginning of all this, our bodies are truly so intricately designed. And when we allow our bodies to work in the way that God created them without any
chemicals
or
the outside substances that aren't natural from our world,
right? Then our bodies truly can work.
How did your mom's cancer diagnosis help to light a fire in you to really dig deep into how these things affect our bodies and how holistic and natural living may have not prevented her cancer by any means?
No,
you can't say that.
No, you can't.
But it could have maybe alleviated some of the symptoms, or it could have supported her body in a different way. Or if she had known so many years ago about the potential side effects of toxins and using toxic products in our homes on a daily basis, there is no telling what the end result could be.
Right.
So now you're passionate about telling women, I think probably around our age, how we can do this now so that later we can continue to live a joy-filled life that isn't plagued by these symptoms that so many of us live with that are honestly unnecessary. Yes, there are a lot of things, autoimmune diseases and cancer, and just the list could go on that we are genetically predisposed to.
Yeah.
But there's also things that we can do differently than our ancestors or even just our immediate family has done to support our bodies to be able to have that natural immunity or to just, have the support that it needs to function well.
Yes.
For a long time.
Yes. So yeah, I can never say that this caused my mom's cancer or this could have prevented, right? Like essential oils are not a cure to anything. And I want to make that very clear. That is not something that I believe. I believe that my God can cure and my God can heal, but oils are just a tool in like a holistic approach to our health. So my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and seeing her walk through all that she did, being by her side through that whole season, that was so difficult. And so through that, watching her experience something that is just something that a lot of people know all too well, which is just so sad. I wanted to almost kind of like take control as much as I could, right? Because there are other things that can cause different things, right? I feel like everything these days causes cancer, but I wanted to do what I could do for my own health. I wanted to do what I could to support my body to work the way that God intended it to work. And I wanted to encourage other people to do the same and to take control of that, because we are in control of what comes into our house and what we put on our bodies. No one else is in control of that. And so it really is up to me and the choices that I'm making to allow myself and my body to work in the way that it should.
Yeah, to function the way that we've been created to function. Right.
And there are, like you said, there are other things, there are other factors that absolutely could play into another thing. And so, but if I can control this piece of it, then I want to do what I can.
And you'll know that you did your best.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I think, is a really, really important part of all of this, is when you walk with somebody, especially somebody so close to you who you love so much, and you see them in so much pain. And I assume with cancer, it's scary. Yeah. You don't know. So scary. You're not getting scans every single day to see what's happening. So it's a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
I'm positive that in that season, for most people, it's a light bulb moment of what can I do to, one, yes, help love and walk through and care for this person who I love so, so much. But also, what can I do to make this less of a chance that I'm going to walk through? Mm-hmm. And what can I do to spread the information and knowledge that I've learned mm-hmm. to help other people increase their chances of living a happy, healthy, full life, mm-hmm. knowing that they've done the very best that they can. Like you said, oils isn't a cure-all. Neither is diet changes. Neither is exercising every day. There is nothing on this planet other than the Spirit of God who can truly heal 100%. Yeah. He is the cure-all. Yeah. But we can do things to steward our health well. Right. We can make small decisions, even one choice to replace your bottle of Clorox bleach with a bottle of Thieves instead. Yeah. One little choice at a time. Maybe you use all of your shampoo up, and then instead of buying that same shampoo, you buy something more natural. Yeah. It's in the little choices every day that you can just start to make a decision to mm-hmm. do the very best you can with what you have. Yep. So just to wrap this up, since you are a Bible teacher, could you share your favorite verse with us?
Oh my goodness. I have so many.
If you need a Bible, I have one.
I love the benediction, I think it's called. It's in Numbers 6, 24 through 26. Also known as the blessing. My Bible's not working. But it's, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may he make his face shine upon you and give you peace. And I love that just the picture of the Lord looking to me and his face shining upon me and giving me peace. And I pray that over myself. I pray that over my friends, my family. But I also love that verse in Lamentations 3. It says that his mercies are new every morning and his faithfulness is so great. And that's a verse that I have loved throughout my life. I feel like the Numbers verse is something more recently that I've connected with. But Lamentations 3:23 is something that's been
kind of a life verse.
Yeah. That his mercies are new every single morning. And that's something that I remind myself. Like when I see a sunrise, I'm like, his mercies are new, yes, right?
And you find joy in that.
Yeah. And with that, another thing that's been just something that I've loved lately to say to myself is I've been walking through, reading about my Bible throughout the year, and I'm using the plan from Tara Lee Cobble, the Bible recap. And she finishes every single episode. So you read scripture, and then you listen to a podcast that kind of explains and dives deeper into things, and I've loved it. I'm like halfway through the Bible right now, which is so cool that I've never been someone to stick to something, and so I'm really proud of myself that I've stuck to this, and I've thanked the Lord for his strength in that. But after every single episode is done, she finishes the episode with "He is where the joy is," and that's just been something that I've been telling myself over the last year, half a year, I guess, because I'm not fully through, but through any circumstance that I walk through, whether that's something hard in the classroom or something just difficult that's going on in my life at the time, I always am reminding myself that he's where the joy is. Mm-hmm. And when I maybe feel fearful, or when I feel anxious, or when life isn't going the way I have planned it to go, right? That ultimately he has the plan, and he's where the joy is. So
I love that so much. Well, Linneah, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your heart and talking through your story. And is there anywhere that listeners could connect with you if they just would want to follow along with your journey more and see all the incredible, beautiful things that you continue to create?
Yeah. So my Instagram, you can follow me there. It's just Linneah.Harkness is my handle.
And we'll put it in the show notes, as usual.
And be prepared to see lots of real. I don't like to make things, like I try my best to make things feel so just not so thought out, and I just like to pop on and say hi and share what's going on in my life, and you'll get lots of puppy spam because that's just life right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow along there, and I'd love to connect with you. That's like my heart for my Instagram, is truly to connect with people and to see people where they're at, and to serve where I can, and not just to be another face on there that's trying to show up and make life look like it's perfect. But make life look like it's fun, and that God is good, and you truly have a friend in me. So
yeah, she is an amazing friend and such a sweet encourager. I have been so blessed just by her sweet words when I've gone on social media and shared something I'm walking through, or I think a lot of times you can kind of read between the lines on things that I share. And because you know me personally too, you are always just so diligent to reach out and just be like, hey, I love you, and I'm praying for you and cheering you on. And that is who she is. So I am, again, so grateful that you are here, and
so
I can't
fun
wait for this to be heard, because people are going to love you just as much as I do. And I know that's to be true.
Thanks, so, Danielle.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to the Created Worthy podcast. If you want to connect more, you can follow along with me over at Danielle Damrell or Damrell Creative Co. on Instagram and Facebook. All the links to today's topics are in the show notes, and you can also find a link to my Patreon, which is where you can help support my mission on this show and keep it going. Ratings and reviews really do matter, so make sure to hook me up with 5-star review. Any less, I would rather hear your opinions over email. So anyway, if this episode resonated with you at all, share the love, send it to a friend, or post it on your social media. But don't forget to tag me so I see it and can share it too. I hope all of you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you on the flip side.